Hi, I'm Abyss. Today, I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. My name is Abyss Townsend, and I spent 15 years building a life with a woman who would eventually destroy everything I'd worked for with nothing but carefully crafted lies. This is the story of how my ex wife turned my children against me, and how those same children only remembered I existed when they needed something I could provide. I met Venetia when we were both 23, working at the same marketing firm in downtown Seattle. She was beautiful, charming, and had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. We dated for a year before I proposed, got married in a small ceremony, and started building what I thought would be our forever. I was naive enough to believe that love and good intentions were enough to make a marriage work. We had 3 kids together. Our daughter Saffron was born 2 years into our marriage, followed by our son Quilon 3 years later, and finally our youngest son Frost when I was 32. I love being a dad. I was the guy who coached Little League, who helped with homework every night, who never missed a school play or parent teacher conference. I worked hard at my job, eventually becoming a marketing director, but my family always came first. The cracks in our marriage started showing around year 12. Venetia had always been particular about appearances, about what people thought of us, about maintaining a certain image. But it intensified as we got older. She became obsessed with social status, with keeping up with her friends who had bigger houses and fancier cars. My income was good, but it wasn't enough for the lifestyle she wanted. Kendrick just bought his wife a Mercedes, she'd say, referring to her friend's husband. When are we going to upgrade from this minivan? When we can afford it without going into debt, I'd reply. We have 3 kids to put through college. You're so boring, Abyss. Always worried about the future, never living in the present. I started noticing other things too. How she'd dress up and go out with friends multiple nights a week. How she'd be on her phone constantly, hiding the screen when I walked by. How our physical intimacy had dropped to almost nothing. I confronted her about it when Frost was 8. Are you having an affair? I asked one night after the kids were in bed. What? No! How dare you accuse me of that? Her outrage seemed genuine, and I felt guilty for even asking. You're just paranoid because you know you're not good enough for me. That comment hurt more than I expected. What's that supposed to mean? Look at you, Abyss. You're stuck in a middle management job going nowhere. We live in this ordinary house in this ordinary neighborhood. I settled for you, and now I'm paying for it. We started marriage counseling, though Venetia only agreed to go to keep up appearances. The therapist, a woman named Dr. Harlow, saw through Venetia's act pretty quickly. You show a lot of contempt for your husband, Dr. Harlow observed during one session. That's one of the biggest predictors of divorce. I'm just being honest about our problems, Venetia said, playing the victim perfectly. He's too sensitive. After 6 months of counseling that went nowhere, I filed for divorce. I was done being told I wasn't good enough, done being criticized for being responsible, done living with someone who clearly didn't love or respect me. Venetia was furious, not because she wanted to save the marriage, but because I'd taken control of the narrative. You're going to regret this, she said when I told her I'd filed. I'll make sure of it. I didn't realize at the time just how literally she meant that threat. The divorce was ugly. Venetia fought me on everything, hired an expensive lawyer using credit cards that I'd end up partially responsible for, and made the process as painful as possible. But the worst part was what she did to the kids. Saffron was 15, Quilon was 12, and Frost was 10 when we separated, old enough to understand what was happening, young enough to be manipulated. Venetia started her campaign immediately. She'd make comments to the kids when she thought I couldn't hear. Daddy doesn't love us anymore. That's why he's leaving. Or, Daddy cares more about money than his family. She'd cry in front of them, playing the abandoned wife, making them comfort her. I tried to counter it with truth. Mom and I both love you very much. We just can't be married to each other anymore. This doesn't change how I feel about you. But I was fighting an uphill battle. Venetia had more time with them since they lived with her primarily. She had every evening, every morning, every moment I wasn't there to poison them against me. And she was good at it, subtle enough that if the kids confronted her, she could deny it. My brother Obsidian warned me what was happening. She's doing parental alienation, Abyss. You need to document this. Get the custody arrangement changed. The court gave her primary custody because she was the primary caregiver during the marriage. They're not going to change it based on my word against hers. Then you need to fight harder. She's turning your kids against you. I tried. I really did. I took Venetia back to court, presented evidence of her behavior, but the judge was skeptical. Mr. Townsend, it's natural for children to struggle during divorce. That doesn't constitute alienation. The court-appointed therapist was worse, completely taken in by Venetia's act. The children express that they feel abandoned by their father's choice to leave the marriage. Perhaps if Mr. Townsend had tried harder to save the family unit. The final custody arrangement gave Venetia primary custody with me having the kids every other weekend and one evening per week. It was devastating going from seeing my kids every day to this limited schedule. But I made the most of it. I planned activities, helped with homework during my evenings, tried to maintain our relationship. Venetia sabotaged at every turn. She'd schedule activities during my weekends and tell the kids they had to go. It's your choice, she'd say to them. But if you go to Dad's, you'll miss the party/game/event. The kids started choosing her side more often. She'd tell them I said things I never said. Dad told me he doesn't want to pay for your school trip. He says it's too expensive. Complete lies. But the kids believed her. Saffron was the first to turn completely. At 16, she started refusing to come for visits. I don't want to see you, she said on the phone when I called to confirm pickup. You destroyed our family. Saffron, that's not what happened. Your mom and I both... Don't talk about Mom. She's the one who's been there for us. You just left because you were selfish. That's not true. I filed for divorce because our marriage was unhealthy, but I never left you kids. Whatever, I'm not coming over anymore. Venetia's response when I called her about it? Saffron's old enough to make her own choices. I can't force her to have a relationship with you if she doesn't want one. Quillan followed his sister's lead within months. Frost held out the longest, still coming for visits until he was 13, but even he eventually succumbed to the constant pressure and lies. My last visit with Frost, he was quiet and withdrawn, barely speaking to me. What's wrong, buddy? I asked, trying to engage him. Why did you cheat on Mom? He asked quietly. My blood ran cold. What, Frost, I never cheated on your mother. Who told you that? Mom said that's why you got divorced. Because you had an affair and chose the other woman over us. I wanted to scream. Instead, I took a breath and looked my son in the eyes. Frost, I promise you, I never cheated on your mother. Ever. I filed for divorce because we weren't happy together anymore. But there was never another woman. Your mom is lying to you. You're the liar, he yelled, standing up. Mom showed us texts. She said you were with someone else. Whatever she showed you was fabricated. I never sent texts like that because I never had an affair. I don't believe you. Take me home. That was the last time I saw my youngest son for 10 years. He was 13. He's 23 now. A decade of his life I missed completely because his mother decided I didn't deserve to be his father. I tried everything. I called, they didn't answer. I texted, they blocked me. I sent cards and gifts for birthdays and holidays. They were returned unopened. I showed up at school events. They refused to acknowledge me. I went back to court multiple times, but the judge said the same thing every time. The children are old enough to decide if they want a relationship with you. We can't force them. My lawyer was frustrated. Parental alienation is real, but the family court system doesn't take it seriously enough. By the time they recognize it's happening, the damage is done. I was devastated. I'd lost my children, not through my own actions, but through lies I had no power to counter. My life became hollow. I threw myself into work, got promoted to vice president of marketing, made good money that I had nobody to spend it on. I dated occasionally, but nothing serious. How could I trust anyone when the woman I'd married and had children with had destroyed me so completely? My sister Tempest was my support system through it all. They'll figure it out eventually, she'd say. Kids aren't stupid. When they get older, they'll see through her manipulation. By then it'll be too late, I'd reply. I'll have missed their entire lives. The years passed. I heard things through mutual acquaintances occasionally. Saffron went to college, graduated, got a job in graphic design. Quilon joined the military. Frost went to trade school to become an electrician. They were building lives, hitting milestones, and I wasn't part of any of it. I wasn't at Saffron's graduation. I didn't see Quilon off when he enlisted. I didn't help Frost move into his first apartment. Venetia, meanwhile, had remarried. Some guy named Torrance who worked in real estate. According to what I heard, he had money, which was what Venetia had always wanted. She was living in a big house in a fancy neighborhood, finally achieving the status she'd craved. I hoped she was happy, hoped it was worth what she'd done to get it. Then last year, everything changed. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Dad? It was Saffron's voice, but older, uncertain. She was 28 now. My heart stopped. Saffron? Yeah, it's me. We need to talk. Okay, I'm listening. Not on the phone. Can we meet, me and the boys? We met at a coffee shop the next day. I got there early, nervous and hopeful and angry all at once. When they walked in, I barely recognized them. Saffron looked tired, older than 28. Keon was in civilian clothes, no longer the boy I remembered. Frost was huge, tall, and broad from physical work. We sat down, awkward and silent. Finally, Saffron spoke. Mom's sick, cancer, stage 4. The doctors say she has maybe 3 months. I didn't know what to say. I'm sorry seemed wrong given everything. That's terrible felt insufficient. She doesn't have insurance, Quilon said. The medical bills are insane. Torrance left her when she got diagnosed, drained their joint accounts, and filed for divorce. Ah, there it was. This wasn't about reconciliation. This wasn't about them realizing their mother had lied. This was about money. And you're telling me this because... I kept my voice neutral. Frost shifted uncomfortably. We need help with the bills and the funeral costs when the time comes. 10 years. 10 years of silence, of returned cards, of blocked numbers and refused visits, and now they showed up needing money? Dad, we need to talk. Mom's medical bills, we can't afford the funeral. So after 10 years of nothing, you call me for money? Please, we're family. We need your help. I stopped being family to you the day you believed her lies over my truth. The silence that followed was heavy. Saffron's eyes filled with tears. We were kids, Dad. We didn't know what to believe. You were 15, Saffron, 15, 16, 17, 18. You were old enough to hear both sides. But you chose to believe I was a monster who abandoned you rather than consider that maybe your mother wasn't telling the truth. She's our mom, Quilon said defensively. We trusted her. And I'm your father. Where was your trust in me? None of them had an answer for that. I looked at each of them, these strangers who used to be my children. Let me tell you what the last 10 years have been like for me. I worked my way up to VP at my company. I make very good money. I bought a house on the lake. I dated, traveled, built a life. And every single day, I thought about you three. Every birthday, every holiday, every milestone I knew you were hitting, I grieved for you like you died because that's what it felt like. Dad, Frost started, I'm not done. Your mother lied to you. She told you I cheated, but I never did. She told you I abandoned you, but I fought for custody. She told you I didn't care, but I showed up to every school event even when you ignored me. She systematically destroyed your relationship with me because she was angry that I left her, and you all bought it without question. Saffron was crying openly now. We didn't know. You didn't want to know. It was easier to have me be the villain than to admit your mother was manipulative and cruel. And now that she's dying, now that her latest husband left her, now that you need money, suddenly you remember I exist. We're sorry, Quilon said. We should have questioned things. We should have tried to have a relationship with you. Yes, you should have, but you didn't? Then now you want me to what? Pay for the medical care of the woman who stole 10 years of my life? Fund a funeral for someone who made it her mission to destroy me? She's still our mom, Frost said quietly. We love her. I understand that, and I'm not asking you to stop loving her, but I'm also not going to bail her out. She made her choices, and those choices led her here. I'm not responsible for fixing the consequences of her actions. So you're saying no? Saffron asked. I'm saying I need time to think about what, if anything, I'm willing to do. But I want you all to understand something. If we're going to have any kind of relationship moving forward, it starts with you acknowledging what really happened. Not because I need an apology, but because I need to know you understand the truth. Over the next week, we had several more conversations. Slowly, painfully, the truth came out. Venetia had admitted to them in recent years that she'd exaggerated some things about me. Torrance, in one of his final arguments with Venetia before leaving, had apparently told the kids that their mother was a liar and a manipulator. They'd started questioning the narrative they'd been fed their whole lives. She told us you hit her, Saffron admitted during one conversation. When we were teenagers. She said that's why she divorced you, because you were abusive. I never laid a hand on your mother. Not once. Not ever. I know that now. Tempest told us the truth when we reached out to her. She showed us the court documents, the therapy notes, everything. Mom lied about so much. Venetia died 6 weeks after that first coffee shop meeting. I didn't pay for her medical care or her funeral. Her sister ended up covering the funeral costs. I sent flowers, appropriate and impersonal. I didn't attend the service. My relationship with my kids is complicated now. They want to rebuild, to make up for lost time. Saffron calls regularly, trying to share the parts of her life I missed. Keon comes over for dinner sometimes, awkward and trying too hard. Frost is the most distant, still processing everything. But it's not the same. It can't be. I missed Saffron's wedding, her first pregnancy announcement, her miscarriage, her career struggles. I missed Quillon's deployment, his near-death experience in combat, his PTSD recovery. I missed Frost's first serious relationship, his apprenticeship, buying his first truck. Those experiences shaped who they became, and I wasn't there for any of it. They want forgiveness, but I'm not sure I can give it. Not fully, because it's not just about the 10 years they were gone. It's about the choice they made to believe the worst of me without question. It's about how quickly they abandoned me when things got hard. It's about how they only came back when they needed something. I see them now. I'm trying to build something new. But the relationship we had when they were children, that unconditional love and trust, that's gone. They killed it when they chose their mother's lies over their father's truth. And you can't resurrect what's already dead. You can only build something new from the ruins and hope it's strong enough to survive. My children abandoned me for a decade based on lies, then came back when it was convenient for them. That's not a relationship that gets fixed with a few apologies and awkward dinners. That's damage that leaves permanent scars. If your adult children who'd abandoned you based on lies suddenly reached out after years of silence because they needed financial help, would you give them another chance or protect yourself from further hurt?